Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some of which I grew up with and some of which are new to me. Today is one of the latter, and to be honest, it's been a bit of a pain trying to track down a game that begins with Q, but we found one. We found one right here. This is Quartz by a guy called Paul Shirley, who my previous experience with is as the guy who made Spindizzy, which is a game we'll probably come to on this series in one form or another at some point. But this is quite an interesting game, and it's got a fairly sort of all-star lineup of people involved with it. So, like I say, we've already got Paul Shirley. We've got a loading screen by Herman Serrano. He did a lot of stuff for Psygnosis. We've got a soundtrack by Wally Beeben, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, who did stuff for all sorts of people over the course of the 80s. And yeah, this is a cool game. It looks really nice. It plays in quite an interesting way. So let's take a look. So what you have to do, we'll just have a look at the tutorial here. You have to shoot the hadrons, which are the big balls. And then you have to shoot the small balls to get neutrinos out of them. You collect them, and that fills up some bins at the side of the screen. And then you get power-ups. And then you have to shoot more stuff. So, well, let's have a go. So, this starting level you have here, the Crystal Lattice, this sort of plays a bit like Asteroids, with one notable difference being the fact that you don't use the turn and thrust mechanic that I've talked about struggling with before in the past. No, in this one you just push the direction you want to go, and your ship... you'll notice it turns into that direction rather than just immediately facing that direction, as in some instances. Oops, and it's got that lovely scaling effect when you die, so it's almost worth dying just to see that cool scaling effect. Because the ST didn't have any sort of hardware scaling or anything like that, so an effect like that in a game like this would have been absolutely gobsmacking at the time. Not to mention the other graphical aspects of this. I mean, look how smooth that scrolling is. And also the parallax scrolling. Parallax scrolling was always really impressive. And this is just a really nicely presented game. It's not a game I'd heard of before looking into. Let's, I don't know what that is. Let's find out. That's one of them. Fair enough. Anyway, yes, this was not a game that I had heard of before looking into games beginning with Q for today. And so, yeah, I'm intrigued to give this a go, and I'm very impressed so far already. I mean, like, look at all these cool graphical effects we've got, like those sort of spinning fireball-y type things there. We've got these lovely sort of shiny rendered spheres. Graphics like this were called ray traced back in the day, which I know is quite inaccurate these days when we consider that we're just sort of getting started with ray tracing in modern graphics cards. But yeah, that's what it was called back in the day. We called it ray traced. It was very exciting. I don't know what any of these are. A book. I don't know what the book does. So then we have to destroy the nucleus, which is a boss of sorts, I guess. Yeah, getting a little bit slow down there, but that's okay. I mean, this is still a gorgeous looking game. It's making really good use of the ST's capabilities. I mean, obviously, we're having the usual ST sound chip issue, which is that it sounds like us, but the graphics are certainly really nice when you consider the limitations that we're working within here. So, working within 16 colours, 320 by 200 resolution. This is a very good looking game for the period. And quite a difficult game. Can I not hit them? Oh, you got to get closer. So you got to put yourself in harm's way. Well, that's no fun, is it? I like the way their damage is indicated by how fast they're spinning. That's cool. I mean, I am a fan of the good old-fashioned boss health bar, but that's pretty cool. Especially the speed it's moving at. So yeah, I looked into this a little bit before starting to record here, and it seems this was quite well received in the day, particularly for its music and sound effects. ST Format specifically praised the sound effects, oddly enough. I know they're not much now, and I've already slagged them off, but yeah, ST Format seemed to think that they were worthy of note. I think they were probably more referring to the theme that plays on the title screen, which is Wally Baben doing what he does best, but I mean, these sounds are inoffensive. They're not getting in the way of the action. They're not obnoxious. They're just not very good, that's all. But yeah, this has got a pleasantly addictive quality to it that I'm rather enjoying at the moment. And I first booted this up. I wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. I wasn't sure that I understood what was going on. But yeah, it is this simple. So you spend a bit of time on that crystal lattice field there. You build up some power-ups as much as you can. And then you go into one of these automatically... Oh, wow. Look at that scaling. That is cool. I would have been all about this when I was a kid. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah, so between the sort of free movement stages where you're destroying the globes, you have these sort of more traditional scrolling shoot 'em up segments. How do we use one of those? Like this? Okay, so we hit the spacebar and then we choose one of our slots to actually make use of the power-up. And if you take too much damage, you lose your power-up. And that gives you a bit of shield back. And we're dead. Got the top score, though. Let's have one more go at that. Now, I think we've got a feel for how it goes. So, 1988 this came out. Oh, looks like sound glitch there. Ow. It's nice to have a shoot 'em up from the 80s that isn't instant death as well. So, like, more often than not, shoot 'em ups from the period would have been you take damage, you die immediately. And yeah, that's good if you're sort of hyper elite pro skills or whatever. But we started to see a few developers experimenting a bit more with mechanics that were a little bit more forgiving at the time. I don't want to say fair, because I mean, taking one hit and dying is still fair, but it's just demanding greater skill of you than something like this, where you can actually take a few hits before you die. And in fact, if you notice, an interesting thing about this is that we've actually got recharging health in this, which was very unusual at the time. It's something we very much take for granted in console games in particular today, but that was a very unusual thing to see in the period. What does this do? That just repairs you. That's good. Oh, I gotta take down the nucleus with pathetic pea shooter gun. Well, here we go then. Ow. It's interesting. It's simple, and I'm not sure that really qualifies as an attack pattern as such, but there's a nice sort of rhythm to this fight. Is sort of the way they swirl round in those sort of elliptical orbits there. That's... Ooh, no, bullets. Yeah, it's got a very sort of pleasing look to it. They just do get in the bloody way though, don't they? Spin, my pretties. one thing I do want to mention, on a technical note, no one's brought this up in the comments or anything like that, but some of you may have noticed in a couple of instances, things like the music and stuff seem to be running a little bit fast. And the reason for that is that I was running a lot of these games in 60 Hz when they were designed for 50 Hz. So I have now corrected that, so we are now running at 50 Hz. And so any musical tracks we hear should now sound like they're playing at the correct speed. So from this point on, should all be good. Right, let's see what this is. It's a grenade. Let's give it a go. What does it do? It flies out and explodes. And then I die. Yeah, this is a fun game. And it's one of those games I think I'm enjoying more now than I would have if I played it back at the time. I know I've talked about I would have drooled all over those lovely scaling effects and parallax scrolling and stuff, but one thing I found during my time playing games on the Atari ST is that I started to think that genres that I thought of as too simple, so like the shoot 'em up, that was often regarded by a lot of people and magazines, including myself, as something that was kind of beneath the 16-bit systems in some ways. Like we should have been on to something more complicated and interesting by that point. So I do recall at times shoot 'em ups getting a bit of grief for you know, being just shoot 'em ups. But in the case of this one, we've got some really interesting creative stuff going on. And yeah, I'm a fan. Oops. Not very good, but I am a fan. Oh god. So impressed with that meteor effect. That's really cool. And we're dead. Alright. Okay, so that is Quartz by Paul Shirley. I didn't actually see who this was published by offhand, and I'm not entirely sure. Sorry. But if you look it up, you'll probably find some information. So, 1988, Quartz for the Atari ST. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.